Today in this lecture we are going to learn the different types of intelligence test and its classification. But before moving on to the test, we are going to understand the concept of mental age and how do we calculate intelligence quotient using mental age, that is using our IQ formula, that is mental age upon chronological age into 100. Okay. So we know that what is mental age. We understood in the last lecture also. Mental age of a person is the level of mental development that is related to the environment in which he lives. So we know that mental age is the level of mental development that is related to the environment in which he lives. Okay. So according to the Stanford Binet test, how the mental age is calculated, we will see over here. So first of all, we need to know that the child whose intelligence is to be measured, its age by birth has to be considered. So suppose a child is of 7 years, then we have to consider his age, and then according to his age we have to select the test. Okay, and then we have to decide the mental age. And how we will decide this mental age, we will understand in this table. So to decide the mental age, we have to consider the number of right answers given. So here you can see the number of right answers given. So in the first test he gave all the correct answers, then in second he gave 3 answers, in third 2 answers, like that way. So we have to consider the correct answers, and for each correct answer we have to assign 2 months of mental age. So over here in the next column you can see each correct answer is given 2 months, which means if he has given 3 correct answers, we have to multiply it by 2 to give 2 months of mental age. So if a child has given 2 correct answers, we will multiply it by 2 and we will get his mental age as 4 months. Okay. But before that we need to consider his age. As we as I said earlier, we have to consider the age of the child. So to calculate the mental age, we have to derive a basic age. Okay. So basic age and the chronological age of a child is different. How we can see? If a child is able to give all the correct answer to the test of the higher age than his age, then that should be considered as the basic age. In this example, we are taking child as of 7 years. But as in the table you can see, he has given all the correct answers for the age 8 years. Okay. So this 8 years will be considered as a basic age for his mental age. Okay. Now how it works? So we know that there were 6 total questions in the test, but over here in as a basic age we would multiply it by 8, that is 8 years, and we will get 48 correct answers. 48 correct answers, and we will multiply it by 2 months of mental age, and we will derive it 96. So we will go on calculating the results of the test that are given at the different ages, that is 9 years, 10 years, 11 years and 12 years. So up till what years the child has secured the least amount of correct answer, we will calculate all of those. So here you can see at the age of 11 years, the test for 11 years, the child is able to solve 1 correct answer. So we have assigned the 2 months of mental age. But for the 12 years, he is not able to gain any correct answer. So over here we will stop our calculation and we will do the total. So here you can see his total age comes to be 108 months. Okay, it's in months. So now we will compare the child's chronological age to his mental age, and thus a bright child mental age is higher than the chronological age. So if the mental age is higher than the chronological age, we will consider the child as bright, and if the mental age is lower than his chronological age, then we will consider that child as retarded. So now let's understand how this IQ work. So we know that IQ's formula is mental age upon chronological age into 100. So in the example we calculated 108 as mental age. Okay. So now we need to calculate the chronological age. In this example, suppose we took the child's age as 7 years, but over here we consider it as 7 years and 6 months. So when we convert 7 years 6 months into total months, we get 90 months as his chronological age. So when we divide 108 by 90 into 100, we get 120. Okay. So now the IQ of 120 it falls in which category, we will see further on, but we can say that as the mental age of the child is greater than the chronological age, the child is on the brighter side. Okay. So this is how we calculate the mental age, and because of the mental age and the chronological age we can derive the IQ. Now then we have certain tests to evaluate the intelligence of the individual. So we know that an intelligence test which can be given, first of all there are two type of intelligence tests in broad categories, that is individual test and the group test. Okay. Then an intelligence test which can be given to only a single person at a time is called individual test, and a test that can be given to hundreds of individuals simultaneously is known as group test. You can see over here an intelligence test and the group test and the individual test. Okay. So we know that IQ can also be measured with either verbal or non-verbal test. There are intelligence tests which are verbal and non-verbal as well. So what happens in verbal is that test contains only written questions to which a person has to give written answer. So if you have a written question test and in which you have to give only the written answer, then that test is known as verbal test. Okay. And the test in which picture or diagram is presented or a motor task is allocated in which you have to do some task, and if the person is told to do something specific where the use of words is minimal, and that type of test is called non-verbal test. Okay. So the intelligence tests are divided into two broad categories, that are individual test and the group test. In individual test, the test is administered to the single individual, and in group there can be hundreds of people, or there can be in 20s or 30s also. Then the tests are of again two types, that is verbal and non-verbal. In verbal, written test is there in which the questions are written and you have to give the written answer only, and in verbal there may be picture, diagram, or there will be any task or specific something you have to do something, and the usage of word will be minimal. So that type of test is known as non-verbal. Okay. So the first test is Stanford Binet intelligence test. So this test is basically used to measure the intelligence of children. So Stanford Binet test is made for measuring intelligence of the children. Here adults are not included. So Binet and Simon developed the first individual test in French in 1905. So Binet and Simon developed this test in French in 1905, but in 1916 the professor named Terman of Stanford University of US prepared the English adaptation of Binet and Simon. So what happened was, Binet and Simon made this test in 1905 in French. Okay, and in 1916 Professor Terman adapted into English. So, and it was published as in English as Binet Simon Stanford Binet test. Okay, the Binet and Simon intelligence test was published in English as Stanford Binet test. Okay, so it is also called as Stanford Binet intelligence scale, and this test have been revised for the 4 times in the year 1937, 1960, 1973 and 1986. Okay, what happened was, why the revision was necessary, because in the earlier versions only general composite score was given. So you know that if you conduct a test you will get only the score of IQ, that is you have 120 IQ or you have 130 IQ, but there was no differentiation or no bifurcation of the skills. But in the revised version there were separate scores for verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, abstract or visual reasoning and short term memory. So due to the revision we can have the scores of verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, abstract and short term memory. So this is why the revision was necessary, because with composite score we have the separate scores for the different abilities also. And this test is used worldwide to measure intelligence of children up to 18 years of age. So we know that this test is made for children, and the children up to 18 years are considered for this test. Okay. Then we have Bachelor scales. So what happens in this scale is, along with Stanford Binet test, Bachelor intelligence scale are also used to measure individual intelligence. So we should note that Stanford Binet intelligence test is an individual test. Also Bachelor scales are for individual tests. They are in the category of individual. So this test can be conducted on a single individual at a time. Okay, so this is an individual test. Then this test measure intelligence from children to adults. So this test measures intelligence from children to adults. So Bachelor scales are for both children and adults. So there are different age groups, there are different tests for this Bachelor scale. So here divided the category for which the test can be conducted. So first one is the WAIS, which is known as Bachelor's Adult Intelligence Scale. This test is used for age group of 16 to 64. So if the individual is in the age group of 16 to 64, then in Bachelor scale the test that would apply would be Bachelor's Adult Intelligence Scale. Okay, and in this test we get overall score and even verbal and performance score. So here also in this test we get overall as well as verbal and performance score. Okay, so in this test, that is Adult Intelligence Scale, there are 11 subsets. What are they? There are 11 subsets, out of which 6 are verbal tests and 5 are performance tests. So if a person is conducting an individual test of, that is Bachelor Adult Intelligence Scale, there are 11 subsets, that is there are 11 parts of the test, and in which 6 are verbal tests and 5 are performance tests. And so the verbal test includes information comprehension, arithmetic, digit span, similarities and vocabulary. Okay, and in the performance subsets there are picture arrangement, picture completion, block design, object assembly and digital symbol. So we divided the Bachelor Adult Intelligence Scale into 11 subsets, in which 6 are verbal and 5 are performance. And verbal test includes information comprehension, arithmetic, digit span, similarities and vocabulary, while performance subset include picture arrangement, picture completion, block design, object assembly and digit symbol. So in 1981 there was a revised form of WAIS which was released, and it is today known as WAISR, which means Bachelor Adult Intelligence Scale revised. Okay. Then the second category in Bachelor scale is WISC, which means Bachelor Intelligence Scale for children. In this the age group that is included is 6 to 16 years. Okay. Then we have the third category, that is WPPSI, which means Bachelor Preschool and Primary Scale for Intelligence. In this the age group of 4 to 6.5 years are considered. So in this also we get the composite as well as the verbal and the performance score. So this was the Bachelor scales. Okay. Then the third type of test we have is the Raven Intelligence Scale. We need to understand that Raven's intelligence test is free from the effect of language and culture. Why it is called as it is free from the effects of language and culture? Because it is a non-verbal group test typically used in education field. Now we need to remember that the Stanford Binet Intelligence Test and Bachelor Scale are individual tests, but Raven Intelligence Test is group activity, that is group test. And this Raven Intelligence Test is non-verbal test, in which there is minimal use of word and more use of pictures and diagrams. Okay, so it is also called as Raven's Progressive Matrices, that is RPM. In 1936, John C. Raven prepared this test. So who prepared the test? John C. Raven in 1936, and Raven's intelligence test is also known as Raven's Progressive Matrices. So if someone asks what is RPM, then you need to understand, you need to know that RPM means Raven's Progressive Matrices, and which means Raven's intelligence test. Okay. So this test basically measures the abstract reasoning. Okay, and it is the most common and the popular test administered to group ranging from 5-year-olds to the adults. So what is the age group for this test? That is 5 years to the adults. Okay, in this group there are 60 multiple choice questions listed in order of difficulty, and each test item the subject is assigned to identify the missing element that completes a pattern or a figure. So in this test, you can see in the diagram over here, there would be a picture and there would be a missing part. So here is the missing part. So the individual has to has to select an option given below which would fit in this picture, and this type of 60 multiple choice questions are given, and they are in the different difficulty levels. Okay, and these patterns may range from 6 by 6, 4 by 4, 3 by 3 or 2 by 2 matrices. Okay. And for people with different abilities, different type of test has been prepared. So in Raven's intelligent test also, there is a test for normal people and there is a test for different abilities. There are some differences in the test for the different abilities individual. Okay, so in this way we know that Raven's test present items in order from simple to complex. So in this picture, this is very simple. We know that the option D would come over here, and so there are different level of difficulties in Raven test, and this is how the intelligence is measured in the Raven's test. Okay. Then we have Kaufman's intelligence test. So the American psychologist Professor Alan S. Kaufman became the world famous because of this test. Okay. He developed the original name for the test was Kaufman Assessment Battery for Children, that is KABC. Okay, and there were certain other psychological and educational tests as well. And he also developed a different test named Kaufman Brief Intelligence Test, that is KBIT. Okay, and he also prepared the second edition, which is also very important. And for adult measurement of intelligence, he prepared Kaufman Adolescent and the Adult. Okay, and intelligent test, sorry, there is no full stop between over here, that is Kaufman Adolescent and Intelligent Test, that is KAIT. Okay, and it also has a revised edition which was published in 2004 and 2005. So along with intelligent test, Kaufman also prepared test for educational achievement. So here also he has developed several tests. Along with that, he has also prepared test for educational achievement. So what all tests Kaufman has prepared? First, Kaufman Assessment Battery for Children. Second, Kaufman Brief Intelligent Test. And third, Kaufman Adolescent and Adult Intelligent Test. Okay. So here we complete all the tests that are mentioned in our book. So in the next lecture, we are going to understand the distribution of IQ, that is the group of the IQ which is divided according to the score generated.